أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Can you hear me? Is that okay? No? Okay. When I got this invitation to come here and I got the title, I was very happy. Because I think, as you heard the two previous talks, we are coming to the essence of our religion as Muslims. And in fact, this is sometimes what we have to do when we are facing challenges, when it's quite difficult in our societies, in our time, to come back to essential, apparently simple things to meditate or to try to understand in a deeper way. And as we know, and this was said, the starting point of Islam is about Tawheed, is about acknowledging the very presence of Allah in our life. But then there is something here which is essential between our self, the self, and the acknowledgement that there is only one God and we have to serve Him. And in fact, spirituality is about this relationship, and we need to understand what it is and what is requested. What do we have to do to purify, to achieve, in fact, this relationship in a way which will, inshallah, please the One. And in fact, acknowledging Allah very often, and I kept on repeating this for years, be careful when we go too quickly to translating Islam by submission, while there is something which is deeper about idkhulu fi silmi kafa, which is entering in God's peace. There is something which has to do with peace, and this is why we need to get a deeper understanding of the self, to get a deep understanding of what peace means in our life. It's very easy now, it's a very common word, work for peace, peace is good, that's fine. Which type, which essence are we talking about? What are we referring to when we speak about peace? And in all what was said, right now, when I was listening, there is something which is essential in our tradition, is when you come to Allah, you come back to the self, and you understand that there is a process of liberation which is necessary. A liberation which is in fact a reconciliation. And I want you to understand this because when you see someone doing something, and as a Muslim we know that all the messengers were models, examples that we are following. And why do we follow models? Why? Because we can identify ourselves with who they are. In fact, what they are experiencing, what they are calling for is resonating. We can see, we can feel, we can understand what it is all about. And I will come to this by understanding what is the meaning of this liberation. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this was said, called the messenger alayhi from the very beginning, he called him and he told him, read. He said, I cannot read, but in fact, from the very beginning, he was teaching him to read two things. The revelation that was coming in the world that was surrounding him. He went into exile from the people, he isolated, but in fact, it was an intimate exile. Coming to the One, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was starting to remove the veils. Now you are going to start to see. Now you are going to start understanding. Now it's a new journey. Now yourself is a new self. You are someone who is coming back to the essence. You are liberating yourself from your ego to come to the one. And this experience is something that we have to achieve in our life. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the people who are rejecting, denying the very presence of God, He's saying, لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا لَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ لَهُمْ أَذَانٌ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ. All what is said is, they have eyes but they don't see. They have ears but they don't hear. They have hearts but they don't understand. What does it mean? In fact, you see but you don't. You hear but you don't. You think that you hear, you think that you see, you think that you can feel, but that's not right. What is between you and you then? What is between you and your heart? What is between you and your sight? There is a veil. You know what is the meaning of this veil over your heart in Islam? It's al-kufr. It's a veiled heart. There is khatam Allahu, means there is something on the very essence of your heart that is covering. So you think that you feel, but you don't. You think that you see, but that's not right. لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا. And they see, but that's not right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took the Prophet ﷺ and removed the veil. And from where do these veils come? That's the question. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ means that in your heart, from the very beginning, there is this spark. فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. This is the natural, the essential nature of your being. But over this essential nature, there is something which is the natural nature. The fact that you feel that you are like this, it's me. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, be careful. Under this natural nature, there is this essential nature. This is where you will find the spark, in nur. Fitrat Allah, al-fitra is in al-qalb al-salim. And we have to be careful. We go very quickly from al-qalb al-salim ila al-qalb al-marid. في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا. The people who are denying Allah, it's not because they are denying with knowledge. Their heart is covered and they speak with what they see, but what they see is not what should be seen. There's something which is deeper. Then anything which has to do with Tawheed is liberate the self from the self. Liberate the self from what is covering the self. And you have to go to something which is a reconciliation process, which is a liberation process, which needs effort and resistance. And this is spirituality in Islam. So what I want you to understand here is when we try to come back to the very essence of ourselves, that we understand Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the light of heavens and earth, and He said, Nurun ala nur. He sent the revelation to send this nur to our nur, to try to help us, and for us to try to reconcile ourselves with the nur He's sending, which is the meaning of Iman. Iman is a confirmation, it's not something new. It's just a trust. He gave us this. And we have this. All the mystical tradition, all the philosophical tradition, all the traditional traditions in Islam, all that are saying this. Are saying that وَإِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدَهُمْ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ قَالُوا بَلَى. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us testify from the very beginning that there is a spark in our heart. We have to come back to it. So our acknowledgement, Tawheed is two things: liberation, reconciliation, and resistance. Liberation of what is between us and us, these veils that we have. Reconciliation, come back to your heart and come back to the spark. Come back with his nur to your nur. And remember that his nur is between you and your heart because the nur is there. Light is there. And then to do this, to achieve this, it's all about resisting your own self and what is covering yourself and making you stranger to yourself, veiled, jailed, distant from the very essence. There is one thing. It's your ego. Your ego is when I become the center. This is why everything which has to do with solidarity, with serving, a servant is the one who is serving humanity in order to serve the creator of humanity. And if you want to serve, your first enemy is your ego. From where do you have this ego working and veiling ourselves, veiling the essential nature of ourselves? From where it comes? If you come to what is said in the Islamic tradition, and you understand that everything in our life is about reconciliation, the self with the self, our conscience, our understanding with our fitra, our mind with our heart. I'm saying this again. Our self, reconciliation between ourself and ourself, between our conscience, which is taqwa, with our fitra, which is in nur, our mind with our heart, our understanding and what comes from the essential nature. It's all about reconciliation. And when you are reconciled with ourself and yourself, what do you get? What is the very meaning or the very consequence of reconciliation? One word. Is-salam. El-itmitnan. You are at peace. Wallahu yad'ukum ila dar as-salam. The space of peace is when you feel that you are reconciled with your very nature, beyond your ego. What attracts you when you see people? Anything which is done when you feel that this woman or this man are acting and behaving far from their ego. When you feel that what they are doing is for them, you don't like it. But when you see something mukhlis, al-ikhlas, when you see that al-ikhlas it's to do it for him. But when you see that someone is sincere, acting to serve the other, you like him or her. But when you feel that it's done to be seen, to be praised, when the ego is part of the whole business, I don't like this. And the ego is speaking in two situations. The first one is when you are overwhelmed by your emotions. Anger, being aggressive, attacking people, thinking about yourself. Emotions are natural. And when you see someone overreacting, overwhelmed, what we have in the emotional intelligence known as sometimes you are completely overwhelmed. There is something which is called a coup d'etat, emotional coup d'etat. You are doing things, but and at the end say, what happened? It's not me. But from outside, if you look at someone acting, it's you. For me, it's you. And for yourself, it's you, but acting or behaving under the imposition of your emotions is natural, but it's not exactly you. What does Islam say about this? Master your emotions. Free yourself from your own emotions. All the consumerist societies are telling you, follow your emotions. All spiritualities are saying, control your emotions. Control them. It's a liberating process. The only way to come back to the original nur is to act against this natural nature that you have. It's natural to have these emotions, but it's not spiritual. Master them, control them. امسك عليك لسانك, master your tongue. لا تغضب, don't get angry. Master your emotions. Why? Because if your emotions speak, your ego is winning. You are in exile, spiritually speaking, stranger to yourself, if you are close to the nature of your emotions. So you have to master your emotions. Then there is something else. When the ego is speaking, and you can feel this. Sometimes, you know why sometimes you can forgive somebody? Because you know yourself. And in some situations, you know that if you were in his or her place, you would have done the same. Say, yes, I got that. Very emotional people. He's very emotional. You know that you can be very emotional. So by identification, you can forgive because you see that it's not really the ego. It's the ego, but you want the people to master. And you would say, please, try to master your tongue. Next time, instead of insulting me first, think. And then it will help me to forgive you. Master your emotions. The second thing is something which is deeper than that, which is the very essence of Tawheed. A shaitan is telling you about this. Iblis is talking about this. This is the big struggle, is arrogance, intellectual arrogance. Is when the ana means you are the center. And everything is said, I think, I do. I am the center of everything I'm doing. So it's intellectual, ego-centric attitude. It's something which is very dangerous. A shaitan is taking us from here. And when you see someone, when you do something, even in an intellectual way, or you are serving, you put your ego and it's visible. So you have to do two things here. To get to control your emotions in order not to be overwhelmed by your emotion. And you have to master your intelligence in order not to be jailed by your ego, between being overwhelmed and jailed. The spiritual path is all about this. To act against the self. And then you come to the very essence. Al-qalb al-salim means reconciliation. And to do this means what? Jihad. Effort. You will not, I have to finish? Okay. So I was in it. So what we have to do here is this, that we have between our emotions and our intellectual arrogance and everything which has to do with al-ananiya, having the center. Now come back to the Prophet ﷺ and we will end with this. How do you achieve this spiritual path? How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called the Prophet ﷺ and taught him the steps to go from the potential veiled self to the liberated self. Minat nafs al-ammara, that you are under control of your emotions and your arrogance, to al-nafs al-mutma'inna, meaning at peace, liberated from emotions, liberated from arrogance, and ready to come close to Allah. This is the path. This is a struggle. This is a way. Al-rushd, al-huda, al-sharia. It's all about that path, step by step. And the first thing is to get it as a path. You are not going to win after a lecture. You are not going to win after a prayer. You are not going to win after the instant is just showing you the path is long and it's going to be full of obstacles. So you have to get ready. Let me just summarize this by doing something which is just follow the Prophet ﷺ. The first thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did when he called him is to say, look, you want now to reconcile yourself with yourself, you should change the way you look at things. He went far from the people to do two things. Now it's time to look at what is apparently invisible to you. Apparently invisible. What is invisible to you, because you are used to it in the desert, is nature. All the first revelations in the Quran are talking about now you are surrounded by all this, a sun, al-qamar, everything, mountains, desert. Now look at them in a new way. Change the way you look. Convert your sight after converting your heart. Second, everything in the Quran is about this. You are not going to be what it means to serve Allah if you don't know what it means to serve the poor people. Look at the people who are not seen in your society. لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ. These people, they don't see them. They think they have no value because they don't have money. And you know that they have value because they are human beings. It's not about having, it's about being. لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Look at them in a new way. First is, but you know, you are here, you are sitting here. It might be that you are there and say, that's a very good point. And then you go out from here and you have poor people in the streets in Washington or in your place. You have poor people within your community and you don't look at them. The point is not, these are not words. This is an initiation. This is a spiritual path. This has to be implemented in your life. You want to convert, to have a selfless life, to come back to the true essence of your being. Change the way you look at people. Change the way you look at nature. And then very quickly, just to mention some of the points, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the Prophet ﷺ and made him go through steps and stages. The second one is something which is very, very strange, and for us today we understand it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he took him in Ghar Hira, and he was telling him, now you know what? It's all about remembrance, a dhikr. Now you look at nature, you look at poor people, and now you have to look at yourself in a new way. And you know what he is telling him? Take your time. إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ يُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةِ. These people, they like what is in a hurry. And this is exactly the consumerist society. Very quick, very fast, and do it. You know why? Time is money. Have to pay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, your time is your being. Look at yourself. Take time. In fact, what does it mean to pray 5 times a day? Why do you pray 5 times a day? You just stop and take time for yourself. Take time. Care about your time. Care about yourself. So the first resistance is strange. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. It has to do with time. Tell me the way you deal with time, I will know the way you deal with yourself. And if you are at the periphery of yourself, you are being very quick with time. Very fast. That's not the spiritual path. So, and you get it in the same surah, Surah Al-Insan. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. Okay. Thank you. So, praying, fasting, the 5 pillars of Islam is all about taking time. When you fast, you take time. You need to take that time. It's about meditation. What does it mean to fast in a hurry way? Just, I'm in a hurry, I'm fasting. No. There's something in contradiction. There is a contradiction in terms between fasting and being in a hurry. There's something which is wrong because you are reconciling yourself with time when you fast. When it's Maghrib, now you can eat. Take your time. And I'm telling you this because in your life today, in the United States, in the modern society, the first spiritual struggle is a struggle with time. with your own self and time. And it's to care about your own self and to understand that this was asked to the Prophet. It's, if you are always in a hurry, your ego is winning. It will win if you are in a hurry. Now, as I said, very simple thing. Rasulullah asking the Prophet ﷺ, master your tongue, change your behavior. Now this has to transform. You take time to transform yourself. And as it was said, he came just to change the people, for the good character, the good behavior, the good manners. So this is why it's important. Now, the third thing that was asked is, as you change, now you have to serve. If you want to go towards spirituality, remember one thing, is that the Prophet ﷺ was called to serve the poor people from the very beginning. And when you went and you were to go to his mosque, around the mosque, it was full of poor people. A spiritual community is caring about the poor people. It's caring about the people who are and don't have, because they must be seen as dignified human beings. And this is the spiritual path. So this is also in Surah Al-Insan. And now there is something which is also, look at what is apparently invisible in your life. No way you are living a spiritual life if you don't serve your parents. No way you are living a spiritual life if you don't care about the people around you, your family. No way. There is spirituality in your way you talk to your father and your mother. There is spirituality in your way you talk to your kids. There is spirituality when nobody is looking at you, the way you deal with your family. There is spirituality in the way you make dua for your parents when they are here or where they passed away. This is the way the Prophet ﷺ, and the people like this because they saw that he was mastering his emotion. Don't cry, master your tears and pray. Be at peace. Pray. Pray. This is a jihad, which has to do with your family. Far from, don't you think it's a jihad of tenderness? The Prophet ﷺ fasting during Ramadan and showing so much tenderness to his wife? That's jihad. That's great. That's beyond the ego. I'm fasting for him and I'm tender for you. My affection for you. I show you my love and I show him my love. And I love you both. Him first, and because of him, for him, thanks to him, I'm now serving you with your love and my love to you. That's the way the Prophet ﷺ was. And then as it was said, serving the society is the way you go towards this serving. So first, liberation. Second, reconciliation. And third, to achieve this, it's all about jihad. And then you know that in all fields, wherever you are in this society, whoever you are, there is a field you can go a jihad for you. There is a social jihad. If you are a social worker, and for all of us, by the way, as we are citizens, there is an intellectual jihad if you are students. There is an economic jihad if you work in business. There is an artistic jihad, which is how you can produce now in this society arts that is helping the people, arts helping the people to liberate themselves, to come to the very essence. Not arts to forget, but arts to remember. That's a jihad, and this is spirituality. So this is our way of dealing with all these fields, but it means that you come back to a very apparently simple but deep understanding of our religion. May Allah help us. Wallahu a'lam wa a'la wa ahkam. And as I said it during the whole Ramadan, for the one of you who were following the chronicles, don't forget to tell the people you love that you love them. That's essential. If you haven't done it with your parents, if you haven't done it with anything, one of the most important dimension of your struggle with your own ego is to give love around you and to say it, because it's important to say it. And one thing that I wanted to say as I am here with MSA. We are trying to get now a network of students who are working in 10 fields with the Center for Islamic Legislation and Ethics. Any one of you who is working in economics, education, gender, it's all in the booth. I'm there the whole 2 days, today and tomorrow. Anything that you want to be connected and you are working, we are looking for sisters and brothers who are working in these fields, because what we want is an international network of people specialized, and we want to come with the true questions in the field. So please just come and let us know in which field you work, and if you want to be connected with this reconciliation between Islamic legislation and contemporary applied ethics in our world. Assalamu alaikum.